Hello students, for this next video I'm going to show you how to draw three-dimensional shapes or forms using a pencil and an eraser. So we're going to draw several different 3D shapes, also known as forms, on a blank piece of paper, okay? And this will help you with your 3D shapes project. Now this project is going to help you with other projects later on in this class, so just pay attention and make sure you're following the steps because it will help you in some of your later drawings and projects. So we're going to start with a square. So up here in the top corner I want you to draw a square. And I'll zoom in a little bit there. Okay, so we're going to make this square 3D, so we're going to turn it into a cube. So what I want you to do after you draw your square is I want you to draw some diagonal lines going diagonal and kind of up off there. So the bottom one and this top right corner, and make them about the same length. And then I want you to draw some straight lines to connect those. So a straight line here, so this one's going to be horizontal, and then a straight line going down. And that's a really simple way to draw a cube. I'll bring it a little bit closer. You can see that there. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to add some shading to the cube so it looks more three-dimensional. So I'm going to draw an arrow to represent where the light's coming from. So I'm just picking a spot where I think the light's coming from. So I put mine right here. So if the light's coming from this side, that means that this side would be the darkest, right? So this side that's farthest away from the arrow, which is representing the light, and I'll draw a little sun. I'm going to make this side kind of dark because it's not getting hit by the light very much. And it's going to be pretty dark at the bottom, and then it's gradually going to get a little bit lighter. Okay, and so this side here, it's going to be darker on this side, but then as it gets closer to the arrow, it's going to get lighter. So I'm going to start with the medium value, and then I'm just going to ease up the pressure on the pencil as I get closer to that side. Same thing up here. So it looks a little more 3D now that we've added shading, and you could go back and blend that a little bit more if you need to. Now, the next step is going to make it look like it is completely three-dimensional. So we need to add the cast shadow, and the cast shadow, if you've ever looked at an object, you can see that there's a shadow on the ground next to it. So the cast shadow will be on the darkest side, and it's going to be about the same shape. So I'm drawing a square, but I want it to look like it's on the ground. And now I'm going to shade it so it looks like a shadow. And I'm going to make it really dark right here at the base of the cube, and then as I get further away, it'll get just a little bit lighter. So there we have our cube, and I'm going to label it cube so we don't forget what it's called. Okay, the next 3D shape we're going to make is a triangular prism. So I'm going to draw a triangle first. And the reason we're starting with just the shape is that when you're dealing with forms, the flat side of a form is just a shape. So we have a triangle, and then I'm going to start at the top point, and I'm going to draw a diagonal line behind that other one. And then I'm going to draw a diagonal line connecting those two. So now it looks like a pyramid, right? So same thing we did last time. We're going to draw our arrow to represent the light. And this side's going to be the darkest because it's the furthest away. So I got something under my paper. Okay, so the next step is the cast shadow. We'll draw us another triangle, make it look like it's flat on the ground, and then shade it in. So the pyramid has a few less steps than the cube because it has less sides. Okay, next we're going to draw a cylinder. So a cylinder is a little bit tricky because it's circular on the top and the bottom, but it looks a little bit more like a rectangle on the sides. So what I want you to do, I want you to imagine a flattened circle. So we're going to draw a flattened circle or an oval-like shape right here. Now it looks like a circle except if you just flatten it out. And then on either side of the circle I want you to draw two straight lines going down on either end of the circle. And then at the bottom we're going to draw a line that is slightly curved connecting those two straight lines. So it looks like a cylinder, and a cylinder might remind you of like a glass or a vase or something. So if you have something to look at, you can get something to look at if that helps you. Now for the shading. And we're just going to stick with the light coming from that side. Now I'm going to do the top first, and the light's hitting it directly, so it's just going to be shaded just a tiny bit up here at this side, the side that's just a little bit further away from the light. Now, since this top part is circular, we know that the cylinder is circular, even though right now it looks flat. So what we need to do to add the circular effect to it, we need to add shading. So what I want you to do is I want you to move your pencil like this. See how I'm kind of curving it? And just by the way we're adding our shading to our drawing, that's going to change the way the shape looks to us. So my lines are slightly curved, and I'm going to add a little more shading at the bottom because it's further away from the light. And then I'm going to go back over and I'm make this side a little bit darker. Looks pretty good. We're going to add our cast shadow here at the bottom, and I'm going to make it curved at the top because remember it's a cylinder, not a rectangle. Okay, we'll write cylinder under it. And then the last one we're going to do is a sphere. So a sphere is a 3D circle. So we're going to start with just a circle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Now a circle, the steps are going to be much different because there's not any more sides to draw. So I'm just going to go straight to the shading. There's where our light's coming from, and that's a little sun to represent the light. And we're going to use a similar technique to the way we shaded the side of the cylinder because we want it to look rounded. So I'm going to move my pencil like this, and I'm going to start on this side because that's furthest away from the light. And so it's going to be pretty dark here. And then as I go up and around, I'm going to release some of the pressure that I'm holding down the pencil with so that my marks get lighter. And notice I'm still using the curving technique with my shading even when I get to the middle of the circle. Now once I get about right here, I'm going to start shading the other side. And then you'll notice I'm starting to make a little circular shape right here, and I'm getting really light. And that's because with the sphere, there's typically a highlight. Have you ever looked at an object and noticed that if the light was hitting it directly, so the light was hitting it right on it, there's usually a little spot where it's really, really light. And that's what that is right there. That's the highlight and our shadow. And then our cast shadow is going to be a flat circle on the ground. And we're going to shade that in. Okay, and now you have all of your 3D shapes or forms. So I'm gonna put forms up here and a smiley face. And if you're not done, please feel free to pause this and look at this to help you finish yours. When you get done with this, please make sure you submit it to your class. Thank you.